But like the old Monster Hunter games, when they did updates, sure they'd add an event here and there, add a monster here and there, but when they released their Monster Hunters, they released everything.
But you have to
So like,
remember that they have to redo everything like from scratch. So
yeah, they have to
honestly,
remake all the
if
models and remake like
yeah,
different things and aspects that have to happen
yeah,
at the same time.
well,
On like, they should have waited at least another few more months or another year before they even released base world of Monster Hunter. Because like we literally insta completed that story, honestly.
well,
Like the only reason I didn't like insta complete in like the first like 2 days is because we were doing it at the same time for the most part. And then you got grounded and I was like, okay, I'm bored and I want to play it. So I played it and got to like right before Xeno'jiiva and then waited to do Xeno'jiiva with you. But like it ended way too fast.
yeah.
Same with Iceborne.
In the future Monster Hunters though, they're probably gonna be a lot longer. Because now they're gonna have all these monsters, they're probably gonna reuse them along with the new ones that they're gonna add. And probably in the next one, they're gonna have a lot more skeletons. So we're probably gonna have bugs and leviathans.
Like the thing with Monster Hunter is that making the maps is easy. Like it's literally there's a 3D world like scaling app that you can get on your computer, or like yeah on your computer. That's for game design. That lets you do 3D modeling of like mountains or terrain or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you can implement coding and other things here and there on it later. And that's the easiest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is the monsters interaction with objects and or the monsters themselves. Same with our armors on our characters. The characters are easy to make. The armors are different. The armors are about the same difficulty as making small monsters, like how there's like the Jaggers and stuff and the Kestodons.
Yep.
In making those small monsters are just under making the larger ones. And since they have to redo literally every single design, and they also added more monsters that have never been made or seen before, is like, see, I'm glad that you guys did that, but add more.
Well,
if you're in your next game that you make for PS4 or PS5, that is, make much more.
honestly, I feel like the cast monsters are gonna be a lot bigger. But since they couldn't do leviathans or like any other skeleton besides the 3 skeletons we have in World, that
Like
probably
the old
dumb
Monster
it
Hunter
down.
games, they even implemented underwater fight and like water Monster Hunter killing. Or there was
I saw
one in
gameplay on that and I didn't like it. It looked
and then there's
really
one in
bad.
Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. That was also in a few other games too, but it was mainly clear in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. You had a set specific amount of time to do damage to this giant, humongous Elder Dragon, almost the size of Zora Magnus,
What was
while
it
on
called?
a boat. You have to go on a
Oh,
boat
the whale.
and fire, yeah, that thing basically. And if you actually were able to do enough damage, he would bring you to an island. You'd have to kill him there. Now that was a good type of boss fight, but our like siege monsters that we have now are just like, eh.
The best one is Safi.
Yeah, yes and no. It's best because I like his ult or her ult and like just everything about Staffy. But the amount that you have to fight it to actually get armor or anything from it is so
Cold Turtle.
boring.
Okay. The thing I'll say about Cold Turtle, once you get past the first zone, it's fun. I'll say that it's fun after the first like thing.
Yeah, because she actually fights back. She has a chance of fighting back in the first zone if you do enough damage.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no.
I can't wait for Master Rank Cold Straw.
I want to see if the armor's different. I really hope they change the armor to make it look amazing.
Yeah. I wonder how
Like that's also the thing
weapons
with
are gonna be
Monster Hunter.
like.
They can't like I don't know why they're doing this because honestly it does not make sense at all because it's kind of breaking the game, to be honest with you, and all of Monster Hunter's old logic. Every time they add a new monster, whatever that new monster may be, it has more defense than our Elder Dragon's armor. Like,
Yeah.
like Silver
Raging
Rathos and
Brachydios.
like Silver Rathos, Golden Wraithen, um, Raging Brachydios, Furious Zhang, all those that were added after the fact, but like after they already had Master Rank like Lunostra and Master Rank Teostra gear and stuff like that, they were added after the fact, and they made them, even though they're base monster hunters, or monster base monsters that aren't Elder Dragons in the slightest, have more defense than an actual Elder Dragon.
But they have to do something
Yeah.
to make it, because technically those are harder fights. Well, Raging Brachydios, I'd say, is a harder fight than Mastering Teostra.
Well, yeah, of course, Mastering Teostra, but if we were talking about like Mastering Lunostra, for example, like the fight between her, either fighting her or Fierce or Zhang, like, no. Lunostra's honestly harder because she has more health. Sure, she doesn't hit as hard considering Fierce or Zhang is the definition of One Punch Man. But as a
Goku.
monkey, um, she has more health, more defense. She can spam certain moves more, per se, since Zhang is the definition of spam too.
Also, with all the fact of Elder Dragons being harder, better, faster, stronger than other monsters.
Yeah, but like the armor itself, the armor, in my opinion, for Lunostra between Fierce or Zhang, Lunostra's armor is better for her skills. Her defense is lower than Zhang's armor, like Fierce or Zhang's armor, but her skills are 10 times better.
See, I can see the fact of Raging Brachydios having better armor because of how he works in general.
Yeah, but like the base pieces should only be like the base defense for each piece should only be like 2 more defense per.
Yeah.
Like the base defense for each piece of like Master Rank Lunostra armor right now is like 162 or no 172, and if you were to like make a Furious or Zhang piece, a base piece, like a base defense of Furious or Zhang is like 180. Like a full like 8 defense above Lunostra.
Oh god.
It's like no.
What's frickin' what's his face?
Latreon is gonna for sure have
Over
at least a
200.
default defense of like 100 and like 90 plus.
He's well, let's be honest, he's a black dragon. He's gonna have like 210 per. Like, and that's just the base.
Well, in the older games, like say Monster Hunter 4 again, for example, because Monster Hunter 4 is like the best example of this. You could get Lunostra armor, and each piece would give you like 220 base defense, like Master Rank.
Yeah.
If you got Fatalis armor,
It's like
each
400.
piece gave you a base of like 450.
Yeah.
Like
See,
you could only upgrade each like piece of armor like 3 or 4 times. It was actually stupid.
see what I think that they're doing is I think like yeah, lore-wise this is better. But I'm pretty sure it's like that they're only doing that because that we have to make it worth their time, so they made the numbers a little more. I think like lore-wise, the Nostra and Safi Jiva are like the best armor for everything. But in the game, they only made them that high is because they came out afterwards. At least that's what I think.
Like I don't know why Capcom's doing that, because there is other games like Generations, Monster Hunter 4, Monster Hunter 3, like a lot of those ones, they would bring out event monsters or monsters that weren't implemented into the game yet, or were like brand new monsters that were like they weren't even an Elder Dragon, and they would even like when they're one an Elder Dragon, they would make sure that their armor was like that specific rarity. So like say rarity 10 armor, the base for a rarity 10 like Great Jaggy for Monster Hunter 4 was like 120 defense per piece. They would make sure that new monster, if it's not an Elder Dragon, and it's like a rarity 10 monster, only have like 124 defense per piece, or if it was a rarity 11 version monster that's not an Elder Dragon but like very powerful, like say Rajang for example, uh, he would have like a base of like 180. And then if they were to add a new one that was like superior than Rajang or like on level with Rajang, they would give that each piece of that armor like 180, like 182. Not
Yeah.
buff it up that much, but they're making rarity 12 monsters that aren't Elder Dragons have more defense than Elder Dragons, which is stupid.
Yeah, but if they didn't do that, then there'd be no point in fighting them at all. And then there'd be no point in them adding them to the game because no one's gonna fight them because they don't need anything from them. Sure, yeah, they might fight them once to see how it is, but like
Yeah, they're gonna fight them because
they're not gonna be
genuine
farmable.
monsters.
They're not
No,
gonna
they're gonna be
be
farmable. Like
well, like if you already
there's
have
a
the
lot of
best gear in the
people
game, then why are you gonna go back and farm inferior armor?
because pro players, I say pro very loosely when it comes to Monster Hunter, but players to the point, they will use rarity 10 or rarity 11 way more than they would use like Fatalis armor because of the buffs on that armor. Like because the buffs on the rarity 10 or the rarity 11 that would work for their weapon or work for their build better than their Fatalis would. There's a
What
lot
I
of people that would actually prefer to like farm Furious Zhang or Raging Brachydios than have Safi armor or like armors like that, like even if their defense was lower and they were only like rarity 11s, people would farm Furious Zhang and Raging Brachydios for their armor and wear that instead of like Safi's or not Lunostra's because Lunostra has a bunch of really good stats. But they would farm that over Safi or Char or something that.
yeah, but okay, here's my full opinion. I think because of the fact that this is like a whole new generation of people, like people that haven't even heard of Monster Hunter did this before. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think
because Monster
like
Hunter was on like Nintendo
yeah.
basically,
So
or before that on Atari.
you say pros, and that's that at this point that's a very small population of the actual
Pros are
Monster
like
Hunter
the
community.
veterans, like
Yeah,
of
like
Monster Hunter that don't that didn't even
the
play
veterans. Like
World yet.
at this point, I think that's like one of the a little less than 50% of the amount of players that are on Monster Hunter
Oh yeah,
World right now.
the and I quote pros or the original players only exist of like maybe 20 or 30% of like all Monster Hunter players right now. Because
And
they're
what
the
I think
originals.
that
They've
they're
been playing
doing
since the main.
is I think that they're babying the new players a little bit with that because they're not gonna know to go back on that because not everyone has a veteran and then they think, oh, rarity 12 armor, I have to wear this. So what I think that they're doing is they're like, okay, for this game only, we'll do it like this, and then from now on we'll do it the way we normally did it. I think that's what they're doing personally.
Yeah, they most likely are because like Monster Hunter Generations Plus, because there was two Monster Hunter Generations. There was Generations and Generations Plus. Generations Plus, towards the end of it, if you looked very closely at the armors and stuff like that, the armors started getting more and more babied to the point where like a new player that would start Monster Hunter and like say Monster Hunter Generations Plus
Mm-hmm.
would be like, oh, this armor is like super good. It's only like rarity 3, but it can stand toe to toe to like an Elder Dragon.
Yeah.
They Monster Hunter Generations Plus is a joke.
Mm.
Monster Hunter Generations is meh.
Monster
Generations
Hunter
Plus is a fucking
Generations
joke.
Ultimate. What about Generations
Oh,
Ultimate?
that's the definition of an absolute prank. That's
Well,
actually no. Monster Hunter Frontier is the definition of a prank.
Monster Hunter Frontier is them like being, oh, you know Monster Hunter? Yeah, let's make that into a full-on MMO.
Let's make that into Pokemon.
Literally though, fucking
But with
oh,
monsters.
this snail is like, this the surface of the sun, and the world isn't destroyed. What?
What? Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's obvious that Monster Hunter World is babying hard.
Like, if you didn't realize recently, though, one of the most recent updates for Monster Hunter, they made tempered monsters harder. They did that
Yeah.
on purpose.
Well,
Because
yeah, because this is getting at the
they've
point where like
figured,
players are learning.
yeah, well, they figured that this game, though, too, since it's been out for such a long time, there's like even though there's still people joining the community of Monster Hunter, they're like, okay, the game's been out for long enough, let's up the actual difficulty,
Yeah.
which Capcom's done to all of their games. they'll release their games for at least a full year to a year and a half. Sometimes they'll wait a little longer depending on the game.
Player base. Something like that.
Well, the player base and how many people actually play that game. Um, and once they hit a specific milestone, that's when they'll automatically up the difficulty for every single player that's playing the game.
Yeah, but this is babying them really hard. We could both agree on that. Like Monster Hunter Generation.
Yeah, like if you
not Generations World.
like
is
if you try to
babying.
if you try fighting Runer Gigante right now, the tempered one for those spirit veins, he is not the same like tempered Runer Gigante as we fought before.
Yeah.
Like last time we farmed for his spirit veins, he actually does a shit ton of damage now, like more damage than he did before, and his damage that he did before was like it was a lot, but not at the same time. Now he has the chance of one-shotting you, and it takes longer to kill him because he has more health and defense now.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying the fact that it's getting a lot more intense, personally.
Oh, yeah, it's getting hard. It's turning back to original Monster Hunter like it was supposed to be the entire time. Where, like, if you were to try to go back and play one of like any of the Monster Hunter games right now, Monster Hunter 4 would probably be your best bet because that's before that they fucked it up with Generations. Monster Hunter 4, if you were to go back and play that game, like when it first came out and it wasn't being babied, or no, it was being babied, you probably could beat that game in like 3-4 days flat. I started playing it I started playing the game right when they took off the baby. Like I literally started playing it for like a week. An update came out, and that's when they were like, "Oh, you know that easy mode that you were doing? Here's fucking hell." And then yeah, I had to
going from Hurt Me Plenty. It's just like going from Hurt Me Plenty to Ultra Nightmare on Doom. Like everything's
like literally.
one-shotting.
It's actually retarded. I still ended up playing it because I loved the challenge of it, and it was actually like super fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also you're so lucky you never had to deal with the old Cachadora. You should be blessed with how much stuff like you have to deal with in Monster Hunter World, like Iceborne and stuff like that. You should be blessed with how much stuff they took away from monsters and how like less spammy they are. The old Cachadora, you couldn't flash out of the air, and he spammed his tornadoes 10 times more. He had like 5 other moves that he doesn't have anymore, and he doesn't have his ice blade anymore. He's a base wind dragon now. That's less spammy, can actually be flashed out of the air. The only difference is that he's harder to hit because
he's
like
always
his
in the
skin's
air.
actually like hard.
Oh. Metallic.
Yeah, it's more metallic. Like it was metallic in the old game to the point where it was almost impossible to hit a critical in the old game unless it was his head or his feet. Now
So
you
what,
can't hit a critical like almost anywhere on him unless it's wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like how much they toned down Monster Hunter World, which I was hoping they actually toned it up to the point where like it
in
was
the next
much harder than
game,
the older
it's gonna
games.
be. I already know the next game's gonna be so fucking hard. Holy shit.
Well, I'm hoping that they do because that like you barely have experienced Monster Hunter to like its fullest. You started on Monster Hunter World because I started showing you trailers and stuff. And you're like, okay, this actually looks really fucking cool.
See,
Then you actually played the beta the first time with me. You're like, I need.
when I first
But
played this, like okay, when he first showed me it, I was expecting a lot more magic, and I'm glad that there's no magic.
like if they had
Because
magic
it would
in
defeat the
Monster Hunter,
purpose
like,
because it's supposed to be like scientifically plausible. I say plausible,
like
not
it's supposed
possible.
to be to the yeah, it's supposed to be like to the factor of yes, you're able to swing around these weapons, and like sure you actually need armor to defend yourself. Like sure, there's some things that aren't like practical, like how you can literally jump off the top of the world tree in Monster Hunter World and live
You know what? You know
and
what?
not take
What
any
I have to say to
damage.
that? Honestly, with how big the monsters are in this universe and how strong we are, everything like that, I feel like there's like less gravity. Like gravity is obviously dimmed down
Kind of like
because,
that one movie, like that I showed you in Tim, the John Carter to
hmm
Mars,
which
like where
yeah,
he jumped on there and like could literally jump for ages and
That's
be perfectly
that's
fine.
my theory on like why everything's so big and why we're able to swing great swords, because there's less gravity, thus less weight, and not to mention evolution, where you would have to evolve to a certain point
Yeah,
to
our
be able to use it.
like our Monster Hunter characters are evolved to the point of like pure steroids times
Yeah.
10.
Because it's
Like,
funny because whenever someone says Monster Hunter, it's like, oh, it's so unrealistic, because you never swing the swords. Those people live in that world. They have to. The only reason why they're so alive is
imagine
because
you're
they're able
not
to do
playing
that.
as a kid. Like, there's no kids in Monster Hunter. Like, you can't adjust the height of your character to the point where you can make like a small little lolly. Like, you only have one set height for a male or a female character in
And
Monster
that's
Hunter right now.
adult.
And that's adult that actually has a somewhat of a full legitimate muscle
You can
to do
tell
that.
that they went through the training by looking at them.
Yeah, the training's like, all right,
Jump off this
do
cliff.
do 1,000 do 1,000 bench presses with this. What is this? Oh, it's just the tail of a fatalis. Just pure raw meat.
You know the training that they did in How to Train Your Dragon, the first one, like how Gobble, fucking what's his name, fucking peg leg boy, that trained all the little kids in the first one. I feel like
Yeah.
that's how they trained the teenagers in Monster. They just tossed them in with like a freaking Great Jaggers or Great Jaggy, and it's like, kill it, just fucking kill it.
And they basically do, because our character is like, even though yeah we're controlling them, our characters actually are like, oh yeah, that's an actual thing that we can do. Like, you can distract monsters with sound, like lure them over to like, say if you're in the ancient forest, lure them underneath that giant rock that you can drop on them, and bada boom, you have a shit ton of damage.
Oh, I
And they're
was
also
so
staggered,
mad.
so you can do more damage.
I was so mad the other day because I was fighting the Nargahuger for the mantle, and he went under it, and I missed the rocks on accident. And then he looked at me and ran over to me. I was like, ah. I was so mad.
I'm just hoping they tone up like the game in the next Monster Hunter, or tone up this one when they add a Latreon.
I feel like Eladrin's gonna kick everyone's ass.
Oh, it is. Like, that dragon form that you see in the trailer, he's never had that. And they're saying, and what I've seen and read from the Capcom like fan base, and also just like the legitimate Capcom developers themselves,
He's able to mix
that
elements now, which is cool.
he's always been really able to mix elements. He wasn't able to do it like that well, and like the most he could mix them with was like put a bunch of electricity in the area and then like shoot a few fireballs, but he wasn't able to actually like genuinely mix them together to make like a electric fire blast and like that. But that dragon form that he has when he actually puts on the full-on dragon blight, supposedly that's gonna be Frenzy. They're gonna make that the new Frenzy basically, or they're gonna make that similar to Frenzy. To the point where Elatrion is gonna go from the colors that he is to pure black. He's gonna become like a legitimate black shadow, have more speed, more damage, and he's gonna, in his ult supposedly, he's gonna combine every single element and alignment. So that means like poison, stun, paralysis,
God.
mixed with the actual elements into a single blast. And that's gonna be his ult. One of his ults. That's gonna be his biggest ult.
No,
I'm just gonna call it Neo Tri-Beam Cannon.
What I Rage did a video on like who would win to fight Safi versus Elatrion, and he brought up a couple good points because he was like saying, so basically what it came down to was will Safi have enough time, like be able to last enough time to be able to do a couple Sapphire the Emperors. Like that's what his main thing was, and that makes sense because that blast blew up an entire cavern. And I don't care how powerful or god you are, you're not going to be able to take more than like 3 of those. I feel like Elatrion would know that. I feel like he'd kick Safijiva's ass.
Elatrion's able to, like, absorb energy, by the way. Like, he's able to eat energy.
Well,
If
yeah, that's
if Safi
energy.
was trying to do that ult, and
Just
Elatrion
num num
knew
num
about
num
that
num
ult,
num.
or he like dodged the first one, and then Safi tried doing it a second time, Elatrion would eat that Sapphire Star and add it to his own power, and then use it against Safi. Elatrion's able to do that.
Of course
That's
it is.
why Elatrion stands like toe to toe and very close second to White Fatalis.
Oh, it's white now. Okay. I don't want.
To white.
I don't
Black
want
and
white
red
Fatalis.
Fatalis are below Elatrion.
Fucking dual blade hunter. Just got in front of me while I'm watching my character dance. Yeah. Okay, I don't get the point of the final boss of Ice one though, because Xeno'jiva.
Safi with Char, I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Because Xeno'jiva made sense because it was like, oh, what is this thing? It just came out of the cocoon while we were investigating. Oh, we have to kill it. This was just like,
Oh yeah, because it was very
oh,
close to Astera. Like, it was
yeah.
literally probably a literal lunge away from how big Xeno'jiva
Yeah.
is. Xeno'jiva
But
could have lunged like
but
a
Shara was
mile
on a
and been
separate
good.
island, miles away from where we were at all.
Oh, the
Just
reason Shara is
chilling.
because he was destroying the ecosystem. Like, every time
sort
they
of,
would those
sort of,
earthquakes or tremors, Shara was destroying the ecosystem and literally breaking apart that island that like Astera and the Wildspire and stuff was on.
See, but two things with that. The first, he is very forgettable at this point in the game. I
A
don't.
lot of people forget him.
Yeah,
Like, almost instantly.
I still remember the name Xeno'jiva, and that was back in Base World. Not
Well,
in
there's also
sure.
Safi though too. Safi helps a
Exactly,
little bit.
which helps him a little bit, which makes Xeno'jiva more relevant because that just adds to the lore. Shara doesn't have that. He's Rock Boy. No one cares about Rock Boy. Not to mention Ruiner kicked his fucking ass.
Yeah, like he got back up, was about to kill us, and Ruiner came in like fucking Nergigante as he's come to play. Fuck you.
Also,
Just
I feel
took our
like there
kill.
wasn't as much like stress when it came to Shara's fight because there
He
was
so
no
slow.
like
He was too slow. That's why.
no, just like story wise because if we didn't kill him right then and there, a couple more earthquakes would have happened. That's it. But if we didn't kill Xeno'jiva right then and there, he would have gone to a star and destroyed everything. And
Well,
like
yes, he would have gone to Astera and destroyed everything. But the also thing with Shara, the reason we had to kill him right there and then, is because the reason the Horsefrost reaches the way it is, and how there's also that cutscene that we saw of that old chick going into that like big ice cavern or like big ice ravine.
Yeah.
That's because Shara cracked that open. He was destroying every island. Like he was about ready to destroy the Wildspire, destroy the ancient forest. He was about ready to destroy all of them because of how much like power he was doing slash how much he was moving the earth and pushing like the plates and stuff out of place. That's why
I
we had to kill
didn't
him right
mean
there
like
and then,
okay,
because he was about to.
yeah, but I didn't mean that day. I meant like 5 minutes later when everyone showed up. Because okay, so in Base World, the reason why we had to fight Safi alone was because the tracker was hurt and they didn't know how to take him away, and then came back for backup after the fact.
Oh yeah, like Xeno and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but him, not him, Shara. What was the point of us not waiting a little bit? Like at least holding him off a little bit, which I guess that's what we were doing. But still, no one else in freaking this world is capable besides the Admiral. No one else has shown their capability besides the Huntsman and the Admiral. Everyone else is just a bitch.
Literally everyone else has like no fighting capabilities. Like at the very beginning of like base Monster Hunter, that cutscene that you have in the boat at the very beginning, like right before you make your character, that one guy that has like the little mohawk or whatever.
Yeah. Excited.
Yeah, he's a hunter and stuff. Yeah, like yeah, he's a hunter and stuff, but he never shows his capabilities. The Huntsman, the Admiral, and literally just those two, like basically showed what they could do. Admiral literally blocked her fucking Rajang beam with a rock.
And freaking the huntsman was having a little 1v1 with Velkhana, which was probably the coolest
Volcana
fight
and
ever.
Ruiner. Not Ruiner, and just a regular
Gigante.
Gigante.
With a normal Rathian sword. And apparently the excited 5-year-old was able to take down a Barioth at one point because of his dual swords. They were Barioth dual swords. Nani?
There's someone that if you wait long enough in the gathering
Yeah,
hub
the
of
freaking bowgun with
Celiana,
Lunostra, yeah.
yeah, they have full Lunostra on. I'm like, excuse me. It's like, did you like rob my like item box or something? What did you do?
I know for a fact you didn't get that by yourself.
Freaking winked off the admiral or some shit, or the huntsman to go get it for you.
Also, well, why do I feel like it'd be a little more, how do I put this? More making sense and less lives lost if we just send the fucking entirety of all hunters ever after Fatalis whenever we know where he is. And not just
Instead of just
4
4.
hunters. Yeah, it's like,
Or
oh,
2 in their
this
or
thing
2 in
can
their
destroy
Palgos.
the world. Ah, well, we have these 2 guys and they're fucking cats.
Because Safi makes sense, even though like it only shows 4 players at a time. There's multiple squads fighting Safi.
Which like it makes sense because like they know, like lore wise they know each other and able to work together, so like they're going in, like as soon as they're done they go out, the next people go in and keep at it.
Or like in like reality, like if we were to look at the Safi fight in like a larger perspective, technically all of our hunters are there together, all fighting at the exact same time, but since Monster Hunter like only wants at least 4 people per quest, it only shows 4 people at a time, but in reality every single person's there.
Yeah.
And if they were to show it in like a larger scale or in like a cutscene with like all those players, there'd be at least like 16 plus. Or not 16 plus, there would be 16 because every lobby only can hold up to 16.
That I want to see that though. I want to see 16 players in Quest.
Just see all the health bars on the side.
Just one guy with
Everyone was
friendship.
talking about doing that at some point for one of their Monster Hunter games where they're gonna allow like a full-on, like you could have as many people in a quest as you want.
But then like, what are we gonna make
I can
viable?
imagine 16 people wake up hitting the Great Jaggers and the Great Sword.
It's just one thing that I don't like about this game though is and it's really mundane, but there's no gore.
There's gore to an extent, like if
you
you're
cut off a monster's tail,
slashing
that's like it.
well, like there's some slashes, like say specifically, like with dual blades, for example, when you do a slash, when it like does like a critical or just hits him in general, like a little blood splurt comes out every single time you hit the monster. Or
Yeah,
like say
but
with Safi too, whenever you swing your weapon, you have little blood splurts go out. But there's not like a shit ton of gore.
that is the like I don't want a lot of gore. I just want to be able to see the damage, just like little cuts. That's one thing Dauntless does better, in my opinion. And I know I'm saying Dauntless did something better than Monster Hunter.
I don't think Dauntless didn't have that. Like you could
Yeah,
spear.
yeah, it did. Like it didn't
I
have
never
his,
remember that.
it didn't have gore, but like as the fight went on, you can see him gain cuts and bleeding on their bodies.
I think I remember that at least.
Yeah.
Well, like Monster Hunter kind of does that. Like when you break its parts on the slash, if you wound it, it like turns white. Slash, you cut off their tail and it shows like a nub.
Nope. Which is the goriest thing there. And I don't know. That's just me. Also, apparently we're gonna be able to kill Kulturoth now in the mastering quest.
You better. I mean, Strippinger's fine too, but like we better be able to kill her.
Come on, bro. Just fucking. Also, I don't see the point in Safi Recon like always being a thing. I don't get why it's a thing.
I mean, you get free potions. That's it.
Boy. See, if it give you like one Dracolite shard per, then you can be like, okay, then I'll just do this a bunch of times in order to get it.
Yeah, especially if Safi's now.
Yeah.
But like,
What? There's no point.
There's no point in having recon. Like, I don't even understand why it's a thing.
I hope they add a new weapon soon. Just like a basic. Okay, they're missing 2 weapons in my opinion. Gauntlets. And just an average spear. And
No,
yeah,
instead the insect glaive.
yeah, because insect glaive is aerial, and that's like, oh, that's nice. I want to poke something and not
I'd
use the
honestly love to
lance.
see like kind of like a chain type weapon or like a fan blade type weapon.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to get too crazy, and I'm not saying those are too crazy, but like, people are saying, oh, I want like dual pistols that freaking shoot out fireballs. I'm just like, buddy, if you want that,
That's not
just
genuine Monster Hunter.
just go to Terra or something.
Like
Because
literally.
yeah, but like, I can see them adding gauntlets, honestly, or like the Great Shield. Like, it's like 2 parts of a shield and you put it together, it's a giant shield. And like controls like slow dual blades.
There's some weapons that they've stated the main reason they haven't added them or never decided to put them as an idea in the game is because there's already a weapon that was similar to it. Like your Great Shield idea where you make it like a giant shield. Lance and Gun Lance, they have ginormous shields on them and
Yes,
you
but
can
I
block
want
almost
like,
anything.
but I want to be able to like counter something and shoot a giant and absorb the element and, and just shoot a freaking fireball at Two-Strip, man. That's all I want. I want to absorb his freaking supernova, cause fuck that bitch.
Like that'd be fine, like same with like the spear type thing. But like the way Monster Hunter works is they want like genuine weapons that make sense.
Yeah, I know, which is why the Great Shield doesn't make sense, but I can still see him adding gauntlets.
No, the Great Shield still makes sense because there is Great Shields. Like there were Great Shields in war slash like olden times. That's what they base a lot of their weapons off of. Like the only weapon in Monster Hunter, in my opinion, that's like it doesn't make sense in the slightest, not in the slightest, but like is a little bit more advanced is Gun Lance, and that's only because your lance just kind of like opens up with like mechanical capabilities and shoots at a fucking wyvern blast.
Oh, but you don't mind the charge blade? It
I mean,
summons down lightning strikes.
Charge Blade is genuinely a sword and a shield, but they just amped it. Like,
Gun
if you can
lance
make
is a
something that's
lance, but they amped it.
yeah, I guess, but like, still,
But they put
certain
a
things that
freaking
they
wyvern
wouldn't
ammo in
do.
it. I just
I
mentioned,
mean,
okay.
Insect Glaive is pushing it mainly
Yeah.
because you're able to technically fly through the air through that. But they made the way that they made that is like they have air pressure or whatever.
Air pressure, and for some reason, I don't get the bug. I don't get the bug
Yes.
personally. Honestly, the most like out there weapon for me. Let me look at the weapons real quick so I can remember the name of it. Is the hunting horn.
Yeah, I don't get how, like, listen to my epic beats. Oh, you have a lot of attack damage now, right?
Actually, never mind, because in war, they did have the people play music.
Yeah,
so
they'd have,
I
like,
guess,
drummers or
but
something
like,
like that to, like, give, like, a more morale
and
boost or something like that.
and they wanted that, but there's like, we have to make this viable in some way. It's like, okay, a giant fucking hammer,
Hammer horn thingy that gives you buffs.
that you play notes in the correct order to play buffs. Like, I can get that. They kind of treated that like a monster. It's like, okay, this kind of works.
And like there's also other weapons too. Like if Capcom deems something too much like a weapon that they already have, like they almost added fan blades before. That's the reason I brought them up. But the reason that they didn't is because dual blades. They could just make a pair of dual blades that look like fans, and boom, fan blades.
Which proves my gauntlets idea stupid because Rajang. Fuck you, Rajang. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the gauntlets thing is basically dual swords.
Well, no, because
Especially if you.
Because you can make them so good, because you can like make it so you charge up punches and stuff like that, or you can make it a flurry of punches. Like,
And yeah, it had more like stunning damage too than like a hammer.
yeah.
And they'd be kind of difficult to play. But at the same time, the reason that they don't do that is if you look at some of the weapons, specifically like Rajang's, for example,
It's
you
just
literally
basically
have gauntlet lords,
yeah.
like little fists that you could use instead of like actual dual swords.
But like honestly, for me, spear. Spear has to be a thing. And I know you already have the insect glaive, but I just want a normal
Yeah,
spear.
but the insect glaive does not like work any way like a normal spear. Like the
And
only
like
thing I could say Dauntless did well in my opinion was the
the
spear
spear.
that they had, because I used the spear constantly. I loved the spear. That's
Yeah.
the only reason why I kept playing that game for a little bit.
I loved the gauntlets, which is the only reason why I still have the game, because like I they can. I'm not saying copy the way that they made the gauntlets and dauntless, but like they did it really well. Because you had to do different combos to like get different abilities. So there were 3 separate combos you can do, and if you did them all, you get like this big super attack where you rose up in the air, put your fists together to drop a giant blast of energy. Like I'm not saying do that obviously, but like yeah, just different combos for different
Like the
things.
chain blades that they have in Dauntless, because like their version of dual swords are like those chain blade things. Like Capcom was talking about adding those in before too, but the main reason they didn't add those in is because of dual swords slash. Um, I don't know why they picked this weapon as a counter example for it too, but light bowgun, dual swords and light bowgun are the reason they didn't add chain blades into Monster Hunter.
Because the dual blades had dual, obviously, and I guess the range aspect?
It actually wasn't the range aspect.
Really?
No, it was the mobility slash like fast like rapid rate of the light bow guns. That
Then
is the
say the
reason.
heavy bowgun. The heavy bowgun and a fucking minigun. Well, that in this game it did. I don't know if in the other games it did.
And then the old games, you could either have the Wyvern snipe ammo or the
Oh.
Wyvern heart, which is the minigun. It's
So,
like
well, Wyvern Snipe, you shoot 1 bullet. That does a lot of damage. Wyvern Heart, you take the power of a fucking Elder Dragon and go minigun.
yeah. I still fail to find the actual logistics or like logic in them, but makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. What's another weapon that I can add? Um, mm, I would like to see a mage type weapon, if that
A
makes sense.
mage or mace?
Like a staff, kind of thing.
Like
You
like a
know,
staff that would have more like range type capabilities instead of like,
Wukong, like that, and like his like
oh, so
the
kind of like a bow staff in a way.
yeah, like Goku, his staff. Not obviously not growing to impossible lengths, but like you know,
A bow staff still.
yeah, just. But the insect glaive was alright. It's kind of the same thing. Just knives at the end.
Yeah, like literally no matter what, like people are suggest to Capcom or like be like, hey Capcom, you should do this or here's a good idea. They'll look it over, make an entire video or like conference about why the hell they're not going to do that, and then completely reject your idea. Sometimes they'll take your idea, but just make that they'll turn that idea into a monster, and then when you kill that monster for that specific weapon, that's what they look like. Like, there is a monster in Monster Hunter World that I forget which one it is. If you kill it, it has a pair of dual blades that look like fan blades.
Oh, they're about to say chain blades. I'm like, that's Odagirin.
Oh, yeah, and chain blades of Odagirin too.
I don't understand how Odagirin doesn't have a long sword. Like,
I don't understand either. Like Odagirin is supposed to, like a lot of his stuff is like Oni type stuff, and Oni is Japanese,
yeah.
and longsword is Japanese. So you'd really think Odagirin would have a longsword, but no.
Yeah. I
I
don't
don't
see
even
the
think he has
point
a
of the
great sword.
switch. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't have a great sword either.
Odegaard got fucked in the weapons department.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Odagirin has a lot of the fast weapons.
Yeah. Well,
He doesn't have a
he
hammer either. I don't think. Yeah, Odagirin only has, I think, dual blades, insect glaive, possibly both of the
charge
bow
blade.
guns. Charge blade, I know for sure because of the grudge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Basically, the bigger weapons he doesn't have anything for.
I I don't see the point in the switch axe. I really don't.
Oh, yeah. The switch
Can,
axe is...
like, I don't...
just put a battle axe in the game. We don't need to switch an axe between axe mode and sword
Honestly,
mode.
you already have a great sword. Why don't you just keep it an axe? That bugs me so much because that could just be a great axe or something like that. Like, Charge
And
blade
like,
makes sense because it's an amped up sword and shield. And
yeah, it's like it's like a kind of like a broadsword, not broadsword, a broad shield with a sword. Like how
mhm.
like say for example, Akihiko Kayaba from Sword Art Online, where he had his sword like in
And
his
the
shield.
shield,
And
yeah.
yeah, and he had to like the way you'd unsheath it is you would take it out of the sheath that was inside the shield. That's basically the charge blade. Not basically, that is the charge blade. While the
No,
actual sword and shield is a legitimate like small shield in your
yeah.
arm with like a normal short sword.
Yeah, you could somehow block fucking. We're not gonna talk about that because skills exist in this world. But yeah,
But yes,
just
like
putting
the most
guard up on the
magic
sword and shield.
actually, yeah, Monster Hunter does actually technically have more magic than you actually think about. With like all the skills and stuff that we can put with our characters, we actually
The
technically have
most
a lot of magic.
the most magic thing I see in Monster Hunter
Geralt's
is
Firestone.
well, that's that's not canon. That's
I
not
mean,
canon.
it kind of is since Capcom made both games.
Eh, I'll say it's from an alternate dimension inside the series. I'll say that it's not part of this world. But the most magic thing is friendship. You heal and
Oh
another
yeah,
person heals.
yeah,
Like
like
yeah.
you drink a potion and just heals the rest.
And honestly, I think the like gems come because there's Elder Dragon power. That's how Xeno'jiiva was born. I think it has something to do with that. Honestly,
Well, yeah, because also the monsters, like a lot of the more amped up monsters, like specifically Elder Dragons, have like energy power or like have like some weird ass shit that powers them.
yeah.
Like
You know,
Shara was kind of like the same as Xeno'jiiva, where when he was in the Everstream, he was getting powered up and getting life from the energy from the Everstream.
you know what I want to see? I want to see like a hunter that goes to the Everstream, and then turns like really big and powerful. We have to kill him. I know that makes no eh, like that's what
That wouldn't
Rajang
be
is.
canon, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, technically,
Raj-
yeah, you could think of Rajang like that because humans did evolve from like primates and stuff like that. And if a person were to enter like a full-on energy stream, like the Everstream or whatever, that could end up like devolving him into a primate, but then evolving the primate aspect of him
to
into a
Rajang,
more buffer slash monstrous thing, aka Rashang.
which would explain their intelligence to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you remember, but like the dragon, not Dragonator. There's a thing. Back in the Dragon War, there was a thing that they were trying to make between like human technology and Elder Dragon power. They're trying to combine that into a thing. Do you remember what that was?
Elder
Right.
Dragon power and what?
Okay, so they're taking like body parts from monsters, basically being like the castle of Straight and all that, and then they're trying to combine it with human technology back then to make like the dragon weapon or something, which is
On Monster Hunter?
yeah, like this was
Uh,
way back
uh,
then in the old thing, like before the Hunter organization, all that like deep lore. Hold
I think
on.
that was when Monster Hunter was trying to make a bio weapon
Yeah,
of actual like
it
Elder
was a bio
Dragons and
weapon.
like regular.
Hold on.
And one of the main things that you had to do though, I remember this because it almost did happen, but then they just made you fight a different monster that was an actual like legitimate monster. But I remember, I think during that specific Monster Hunter, when they were trying to make that bioweapon,
Mm.
there were one of the people that was helping make the bioweapon was trying to make a bio creature, and he was trying to make his own monster. But
Hunter.
then that failed, and you had to fight a different, like actual like non-man-made Elder
Yeah.
Dragon. So
dragon.
Remember one of the Monster Hunter games, someone did that?
In an
Someone was trying to do that.
Wait, that was...
that I don't plan on diving into, because I wouldn't fit in a kettle, and it would fucking hurt. But the point remains is that these guys, much like Stacy's mum, had it going on. Hell, they had such intimate knowledge of the animals and nature around them that they tamed them, rode them into battle, and had them as pets. They knew the biology
Monster Hunter
so
Frontier.
closely
Yeah.
that any scrap of information we find detailing a monster that still exists,
Okay, I'm missing a lot.
it's experiments and use, you know, and like, yeah, we know that. Well, I've got an idea. Let's combine their powerful flesh with our indomitable technology in an unholy fusion that will give birth to a ginormous sentient substance we're hunting ever encountered. Enormous sentient. Mention it. These
Feels like a picture.
known as
Whatever. I want something like that to come up. It's like, is that what I think it is? Like something like that. It's like, and one of the people comes up. It's like, I remember reading about that. That's blah 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 from the old world, whatever.
Capcom's talking about, like, you know how there's different time zones, like there's AD and BC and stuff like that? Whatever, and how people are saying, like, oh yeah, in 2055 or something like that, we're gonna have, like, flying cars or whatever. And how back in, like, 800 years ago, there's, like, medieval times and shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was further back than that, but...
It was like 1,000.
Yeah, so Monster Hunter is more of the medieval times. Capcom is talking about a Monster Hunter game, but futuristic.
Actually,
They're gonna keep all 14 weapons still,
yeah.
same weapons, but they're gonna be like, say if you're about to make a greatsword, it was gonna be like a plasma greatsword or something like that. It kind of looks like a lightsaber in a way. To the point where it's like a giant blade.
But according to the lore, Monster Hunter is technically post-apocalyptic. Because they already had a bunch of technology, that's why the Charge Blade exists, but they fucked up and pissed off Fatalis, and then everyone almost died. Everyone did die.
And they're talking about how they're gonna have like monsters be like, not mechanical, but like souped up to the fucking like brim to the point where they almost look like they're just robotic.
Frontier? Question mark? No.
Frontier, but possibly less gay.
See, there are some monsters from Frontier that I think would be cool as a concept, not an execution. Well, like
a lot of the monsters that Capcom makes, even if it's for a shitty game, they're still cool monsters.
like
But the
there's an
gameplay for
Ice
that game is a different
Teostra.
story.
I really want an Ice Teostra. The most annoying thing to me in Frontier is that there's just...
Oh no, Ice Teostra and Ice Nostra are canon. Like those are full-on canon things. They were in like Monster Hunter like 1.
Huh.
Keep in mind there's like 3 Monster Hunters before Monster Hunter 1. They were named like different things, and then they started calling it Monster Hunter 1, Monster Hunter 2, Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter 4, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Generations Plus, Frontier, World, stuff like that.
Yeah, but there's this Diablo subspecies there. It's like so the whole backstory behind him is like a group of Diablos go to a volcanic region and they adapt to it because they like the cacti there. And apparently, them living in a volcanic region allows them to nuke an entire zone. A Diablos, a non-elemental creature. Like I can
No.
I can get them evolving to that sort of thing because we have Brute Tigrex, which is basically that but Monster Hunterified, not Frontierified. I can see them making a Diablos, but like amped up a little bit because lava. Ooh, I want to see a Brachydios, but like he had to evolve to icy climates. Actually, never mind. But Brachydios can live fucking anywhere. He's Brachydios.
Looks at Bambro that literally goes everywhere.
Bambro lays down and next to lava. This is fine.
This is fine. I am lava. I am hot boy lava Bambro now.
Also, another thing that they could do, since of how they did the lore, is that whenever if they ever make a new weapon, they could just say, "Oh, look, relics are found, and this is a new weapon we haven't found before." Blah 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 blah. Did you ever read that like book that you have in the old world house?
What book?
There's a book in the old world house that tells a story of like how like
Oh yeah, that book.
religiously this world came to be, like the 5 dragons.
Yeah. It's just funny, those 5 dragons were never in the same game at once. Captain said no.
Icky.
They didn't want to put all 5 of those dragons in the same game. But
They were-
Captain said they possibly might do it in World or in the next game after World.
So so this is
And they
the
might
thing.
add a 6th one, which is like a mixture of all of them.
The dragons swam to the center of the ocean. Okay, hold on. Dragons opened their mouths as if to answer, create the world. The dragons swam to the center of the ocean and there began to transform into an island. One dragon sank into the sea and became the land. One dragon lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains, Shara. One dragon stooped low and became the lakes and scattered its scales to create rain. One dragon fell into a deep slumber, became the forest. The last dragon climbed into the sky to become the star of a sapphire blue, shining brightly above the island, Safi Jiva.
Yes.
So in one
Oh, yeah, and then there's
lifetime,
also
we
that
killed
picture,
2 of the
too, that has,
prophesies,
like,
yeah.
all of them.
Yeah. So we've already fought 2 of them.
Technically, in retrospect, yeah.
Well, I mean,
But
okay.
the original ones, no, we have not.
Yeah. It's obvious that Safi Jiva is the one that went to the sky and became the stars because Sapphire is the emperor. And then it makes sense that Shara is the one that became the mountain because he disintegrates mountains and most of his moves he lifts his head to the sky.
Yeah, actually, you can also make mountains too if you really wanted
Yes.
to. So, yeah.
So I guess those 2 could count. And then the rest of the story is the story. God, I haven't been in my old room in a while. These poor things. My goodness. Like, see, part of me wants them to add underwater combat back, but the other part of me doesn't because of how it looked back in the old games. Like, I don't want that. Nuh-uh. The last thing I need is to get used to another type of combat in this game. Hell, I like literally just figure out how to use the lance without dying. Last thing I need is to figure out how to do it underwater in a 3D plane. If I wanted to worry about something coming up beneath me, I'd fight a Diablos. Fucking bitch. I'm going to bed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like falling asleep here anyway, so I should probably
Yeah.
do the same. Because I don't think Courtney's joining my insomnia party anytime soon, so.
just comes, wakes you up, just screams at you.
No, if she came in here and I was asleep, she'd probably either try calling me or texting me to see if I'll wake up.